Hi guys, welcome to the second part of the VBA lesson. So in part 2 we're going to learn about functions and if statements. So let's get started. So in this problem we have a simple question where we want to increment the starting value, and let's start off by incrementing it by a constant number, so 1. Okay, so first open up Visual Basic Editor, insert a new module, sorry. So here we're going to use functions. Before we use subprograms, now we're going to use functions. The difference between function and subprogram is that with a function you can just type in equals, for example, sum, and then it'll bring up the function. It'll do the calculation in the cell, or whatever you specify the function to do. With subprograms, however, in order to activate them, you need to run it or assign it to a button and click that button. So it's a bit different. So to start off with a function, we just type in function and then we call the function name. So here we're adding value, so let's call it add value. Okay, and then once we type in the function name, you can name it whatever you like. We just open the bracket, and inside this bracket we're gonna put in the parameters. So the parameters we need, so firstly, parameters are just inputs we put into a function before we get an output. So another word is just input. So parameters we need is the starting value. So let's dim start value as integer. Okay, we need to specify the type and then close the bracket. Okay, we also need to specify the return type of this function. So it's going to return another integer. So this is all we do. After our bracket, we just say as integer, and then it will know that the function value returns an integer. One thing, inside the parameter, you don't actually need a dim. So we can actually take out this dim because it's already implied that there's a dim in there. Okay, and then just press enter, and then here we have our function. So if I had dimmed, then something would have been wrong. This would have been red, and I would have known something was wrong. So actually you don't need a dim. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're just gonna increment whatever start value is by 1. Okay, so basically we can say add value. So this is equals to start value plus 1. So what we're saying is we're changing this function return value. So every time we want to return the function, we just type in the function name, and we're making the return value the start value plus 1. Okay, and then here we can just type in add value, and then click on the cell, and then we've added a value to it. Okay, and that's your first function. So simple function. Now let's say we want to be able to control what value we add onto instead of just 1 or any constant. So so what we need is we need another variable. Okay, so in here we can just type a comma and then dim another variable. So we can say, we can call bonus or increment, whatever you like, as integer, another integer, and then here we can just type in bonus instead of start value. Okay, so now this will be wrong because we changed the specifications of the function, so now it won't work because we need to actually add another number to it. So here we can add in 5, and it's adding 5 to each number now. Or we can just say add the same number to it. So this is basically multiplying it by 2. Okay, so that's your simple first function. Yeah, that's it for this lesson.